Hello and welcome to Retro Cars Reborn. I'm Lee, and in this week's episode we are going to be looking at the Peugeot 205. Let's have a look at all those bits that have been cut out, because I have also cut out all the bits that are needed from that other rear quarter. So let's jump into it. So this is the part where on mine it's all damaged all down to here, and all this is rippled and crippled where it's all been bent back into shape. And I say I've cut mine across this line, so I've cut up this one and left plenty of meat on it. The next bit that's knackered on mine is the piece that comes up here, which is this piece, which I've spot welded out of there, and that runs, and the other piece, obviously the wheel well runs up and around there, which is also gone. But this piece needs repairing to start with, because it's quite heavily pitted, and you only literally had to touch it in order for it to burst through from one side to the other. So firstly I've got to repair this piece, and there's obviously a bit of pitting there we need to deal with, so that wants welding. This piece is still okay. The other bit is the actual wheel well itself, which is in here. Yeah, it's not that bit, it's this piece here, but we'll have a look at that once I have repaired this piece. So let's get this cut out and that cut out and a new bit welded in. There we go, got that bit done. Doesn't have to look perfect because this part of the car gets welded over again, so you're never going to see it. Managed to tack that and tack that, so that was good. I've not had to cut any out, but yeah, I had to cut that piece out because it was, where is it? There it is. It was totally like paper, basically. See? Just like paper. That's how thin it had become. Yeah, it's not too bad. It looks alright from the back as well. So I'm just going to fiberglass over those two bits. Might as well do it on the back as well, as soon as I can reach it. Get it painted. And this bit is ready to weld in. Might have to grind that down, but I don't know how high up I'm going yet, which is why I only painted it with the beautiful Halford's grey weld through primer. So yeah, so we'll move on to looking at another piece, because I think another piece wants repairing as well. So it turns out that the this piece isn't broken. I just thought it was. It just wanted all this rust removing, which I've already done. Sprayed it with some primer. Yeah, so we're ready to basically take these parts and go and put them in place and see how much of them we need in order to reconstruct the Peugeot. So let's go do it. So I've chopped some more out here to see the rust behind here, because it continues to go up. So what I'm thinking is we have to take this inner arch out as much as possible. From here, I might go up to wherever the next one is, because once that's out of the way, so effectively this piece, once this piece is out of the way, we can get in and slot in as much of this repair panel as possible. I can go all the way up to there with it. So I'm going to drill out spot welds and we'll see how much of the inner panel I can take out. So I've ended up taking out this spot weld and this spot weld. Let's get a light on. And I went all the way up to there, look, all the way up to here, all the way down here, so I can completely expose that bit, so we can cut off a nice big chunk of it. And the whole time I've been basically going off this rear, this bit, which is, you know, that bit that goes up in there. So we've still got all of this to put back. Spot weld to spot weld. So yes, so I think I'm now up high enough to start dealing with and deciding where this inner piece is going to be cut out. So let's go grab that bit and we'll see how much of it we can save. Right then, so if I slide you viewers in, see in there, that's where the rot is in the corner. So if we cut above it and across, we can do it from the inside. I just need to measure how much of this I've actually got, which is obviously this piece here from the inside. Measure the height, and yeah, I can weld it from the inside, as well as undo the spot welds that are in this corner. There's one, that black dot there, and then this other half can be welded from the front. So even though this plate here sits in the way, we can weld it from essentially that side. So yes, it's looking good. So just so we can see, I've got it laid over the old one. You can see the old one underneath it. But yeah, that's how much is missing. And it runs all the way down onto there. And if it did get water in, that's where the water's supposed to come out of there. But yeah, it still lines up even with the bit at the back. So we know I've got enough now left of this one to repair that one. So we can probably cut it right round there and across, because that's above the rust. And then we can get it welded in. So now we've got to figure out how much of this here wants repairing. And then obviously the first thing we're going to have to do when it all comes to going back is put in this sliver in here that had to come out. So let's go get that corner bit, slide that in and see how much of that fits. So I did in fact keep a massive piece of this that goes in there, to the point where I've kept too much. So what we got? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. If we cut it about there, and we've still got all of that in order to work with. So I'm just going to slice this in half, and yeah, then we should start to actually be able to put it somewhere. Now there's just a quick look at, I mean, you can tell it's not lined up, it's actually miles too far forwards, but that's because, you know, I've got to take this seam out for this to fit in properly. But yeah, that's the panel I'm going to use to repair that. Now obviously I've got that piece that you just saw a minute ago that then will slot and go back into those spot welds even. And then we've got this bit where all the fuel comes through to go back in here. That'll create all that bit, but I'm not going to put that bit back in because I need to order now the piece that sits here that holds all the washer pump and everything in, and that you spot weld around these edges. So yeah, it is definitely coming on, and then I'll actually be able to finally do what I started and weld that bit back in. And then we've got to prep the boot floor again, because there's still rust coming through even though I'd protected it. But thanks to Dave's garage, we now know that the Halford swell through primer lasts outside just on its own. So that's what this is all sprayed with, so that it doesn't go rusty again. So yeah, I'm gonna redo the boot floor in the Halford's primer. Alright, so let's get this cut, fitted, and all mocked up, and then we'll come back and I'll show you it all mocked up before it's all welded in. So we are pretty close to wanting to weld it in. That just needs pushing in from the back. But yeah, overall, it's a really good fit. And you can see in there the spot welds even line up, so that's good. Got a bolt holding it in at the back, a G-clamp in at the front. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get the power file and just go and zip round all the edges. It's ready, so it's ready to weld in, and then I'll get this bit welded in, then we can remove all the other bits. So we're in. We have a non-mangled piece back on. Yes, I'm happy with it. There's a few little bits that want another blobber weld there and around there, but there is a couple of bits of light showing through, you can just see there, but the pinholes I'm not too fussed about because the fiberglass will take care of that. So now let's look at how much of this up here we want to chop out so that we can put the next bit in. Even with it just laid in there and held in with a G-clamp, it does look pretty good. Nice to see that the spot welds match up too. So yeah, so now it's just a case of basically zipping round it with the air saw to make it perfect, and then we can weld this piece of strength back in, and then we've literally got all this welded in, this welded in. We can get this piece here welded in, and then this bit welded in, and the job is a good one. So I've got it blasted in. Already ground these bits back at the bottom, but got it welded in that corner as well. So yes, it just needs a bit of tidying up, and that bit is in there. Yes, very happy with the progress so far. I did make a little boo-boo look. I cut out way too much, but we'll just fill that with a bit of weld and grind it back, and we should be good. Got it welded in. I'm going to leave this face as it is because it still continues to be welded to around here. Gonna fiberglass that side, go into fiberglass over these, bits of welding here and over here, so it's nice and waterproof. Gonna leave that gap there because that's it. The water does get in there. That's how the water gets out, through there. So we're getting there. So now I'm gonna have a look at the bit that would fit in here. Whoa, getting close. So even with the fiberglass over the bits that have been welded, look, you do not have to rub this fiberglass back at all, because the seam sealer, look, that goes over the top is that thick to start with. So literally you can just leave the fiberglass rough, because as soon as you blast it with seam sealer, it's all covered up anyway. And I say it's just that extra little bit of protection under the seam sealer to keep it going. So now I've just got to look at making this piece that goes in here. Basically the company that makes this piece that goes in here, they're away over Easter, so let's get this bit built instead. So I've got it cut and shaped in as best as I can. That gap actually should touch all the way around, but it just seems to get bigger and bigger every time I fit it, and I just don't know why. I can't slide it up anymore. I think what the actual problem is when this has been fitted, it pushes out this way. Like, look at the back of the car. You see how it bulges out? It's not flat. I'm not too sure if it's supposed to be like that. So we'll get it welded in, and then we'll see if we can address any of these bulging issues. But yeah, it looks perfection. Well, it is in and welded back in, so it looks great. So now I've just got to wait for this piece that fits in here to come back into stock, and I can finish it off. So let's get some fiberglass over these welds. We'll get it painted with some red oxide primer, and then we shall have a look at what it looks like when it's totally covered up. There we go. So we've now got all of this completely replaced. I say I haven't bothered rubbing the fiberglass down because it's all going to be seam sealed anyway, because Peugeot covered the entire car in rubberized seam sealer, and I plan on doing the exact same. I have these corner pieces on order. I ordered them last night. They literally had 2 left in stock, a left hand side and a right hand side, so they're ordered. Just got to wait for them to turn up now. But in the video after this, I can now finally get round to welding those 2 pieces of chassis back together. There's now no reason to not do it, and rub this floor back and paint it. I have decided that I'm going to cut out this piece of floor and replace it, because look at the gap between the actual side of the car and the floor. It's massive. It should not be that big at all. Literally, I can get there. I'm pretty sure the edge of this torch will fit down there. Near enough, fits in the hole. Look. There you go, it slides down. That's how thick the hole is between them. So yeah, going to replace that. Well, that's some more strength put back in the Peugeot after all the rot has now been totally removed. So just going to wait for those 2 corner pieces, and we'll be able to put them in the next episode. But until then, I've been Lee. This has been Retro Cars Reborn. Remember to subscribe, leave a comment, leave us a like, share if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one.